Hello, everyone, and welcome. You have probably heard stories about Elon Musk. People say he is a tough boss with a brutal work ethic. But is that the whole story? Let's explore the untold truth behind the long hours and the intense pressure. My name is Leo. Just a few years ago, I was a young engineer, fresh out of university. My head was full of dreams. My biggest dream was to work at SpaceX. I did not just want a job, I wanted to be part of something historic. I wanted to help humanity reach for the stars. For me, SpaceX was not just a company, it was a mission. The application process was incredibly difficult. There were many tests and interviews. Each step was a challenge. Thousands of the best students from around the world wanted to work there. I studied hard. I prepared for weeks. When I received the email, I could not believe it. The email said, "Welcome to SpaceX." It was the proudest moment of my life. I called my parents immediately. They were so happy for me. I felt like I was on top of the world. My first day was a blur of excitement. The factory in Hawthorne, California was huge. It was filled with giant rocket parts and the sound of busy people. The energy was electric. Everyone I met was smart, passionate, and focused. They talked about rockets, engines, and missions to Mars. They spoke a language of innovation. I knew I was in the right place. This was where the future was being built, and I was now a part of it. The first few months were a real test. The stories were true. The work ethic was brutal. A normal workday was not 8 hours. It was 12, 14, or sometimes 16 hours. I often saw people sleeping on sofas in the office. We did this not because a manager told us to. We did it because the deadlines were real. A rocket launch does not wait. It has a specific time and date. Our work had to be perfect and on time. My main job was on the Merlin engine team. These are the engines that power the Falcon 9 rocket. My work was small but important. I helped design and test small valves that controlled the flow of fuel. A small mistake in my work could cause a big problem. The pressure was immense. Every day was a race against the clock. Coffee became my best friend. My dinner was often a cold pizza eaten at my desk. Some days I felt overwhelmed. I saw colleagues who looked tired all the time. Some of them left the company after a few months. They could not handle the pressure. I started to ask myself, can I do this? Am I strong enough? I was tired, and I missed having a normal life. I missed seeing my friends and family. I started to think that the brutal work ethic was just about working until you break. I thought I was close to breaking. Then, something happened that changed my perspective. We were working on a very difficult problem with a new engine prototype. A key valve was not performing correctly under high pressure. My team and I worked for 36 hours straight. We tried everything we could think of, but nothing worked. We were exhausted and frustrated. We felt like we had failed. Suddenly, late at night, a figure walked into our lab. It was Elon Musk. He had been walking through the factory, checking on progress. He saw the tired looks on our faces. I expected him to be angry. I expected him to shout about the deadline, but he did not. He walked over to our workstation. He looked at the data on the screen. He quietly asked, "What is the root problem?" I explained the technical details. He listened with intense focus. He did not blame anyone. He started asking simple, fundamental questions. Why is this part made of this material? What are the absolute physical limits here? Have we considered the problem from first principles? He was not acting like a CEO. He was acting like an engineer. He stood with us for almost an hour. He helped us brainstorm new ideas. He drew a simple diagram on a whiteboard. His questions made us think in a new way. He didn't give us the answer. He helped us find the path to the answer. When he left, he just said, "I know you can solve this. Don't give up." That night, my team and I felt a new energy. We were still tired, but we were inspired. We followed his advice. We went back to the basics, to the first principles of physics. We questioned every assumption we had made. And then we found it. The solution was simple, something we had overlooked because we were stuck in our old way of thinking. We fixed the valve. The test was a success. In that moment, I understood the untold truth. The brutality was not about cruelty. It was a brutal, relentless focus on the mission. The long hours were not the goal. The goal was to solve impossible problems. The intensity was a tool to push past normal limits. Elon was not just demanding hard work from us. He was demanding it from himself, too. He was in the trenches with us. I saw this again after a failed rocket landing. The rocket booster crashed into the ocean. It was a public failure. The whole team was heartbroken. We had worked for months on that booster. We gathered in the mission control room. Elon came in. Again, I expected him to be furious. Instead, he was calm. He stood in front of us and said, "We failed. That's okay. Failure is part of this process. Let's find out exactly why we failed. Let's learn everything we can from the data. And let's make sure this specific failure never happens again. We are close. We will not stop." There was no shouting, there was no blame. There was only a powerful sense of resilience. He made us see failure not as an end, but as a valuable lesson. This was the culture he built. It was a culture of extreme ownership and constant learning. The pressure was high, but the purpose was higher. We were not just building machines, we were building a new future, and that required a different kind of effort. Over the next few years, I grew a lot as an engineer and as a person. I learned to think more clearly and solve problems more effectively. I was part of the team that finally achieved a successful rocket landing on a drone ship. I was in the control room that day. When the booster landed perfectly, the room erupted in cheers. People were crying and hugging each other. All the long nights, all the sacrifices, it was all worth it in that single moment. I understood that the work ethic at SpaceX is not for everyone. It requires a deep personal sacrifice. But the untold truth is that it is driven by a powerful, shared belief in an incredible mission. It's about a passion to solve problems that others think are impossible. The brutality is a reflection of the difficulty of the goal. You are not just working for a salary, you are working to change the course of human history. After 4 years, I decided to leave SpaceX. It was a difficult decision. I was proud of the work I had done, but I also wanted a different balance in my life. I left with no anger, only respect. I carried the lessons I learned with me. Today, I lead my own small technology company. I try to inspire my team with the sense of mission, just as I was inspired. I don't ask them to sleep at the office, but I do ask them to think from first principles. I ask them to be resilient when they fail. I ask them to always focus on solving the root problem. The untold truth about Elon Musk's brutal work ethic is that it's not really about the hours. It's about the intensity of the focus. It's about a deep, unshakable belief that humanity can achieve incredible things if we are willing to push beyond our limits. It was the hardest and most rewarding experience of my life.